Most of us have heard of the 5 love languages: words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. But did you know that there are 4 money archetypes that also help us understand ourselves, our relationship with money, what motivates us about money, and why we engage with money in the way that we do? Well, there are. In this episode, I'm going to break down the 4 money archetypes to help you not only understand your own archetype, but to get a better window into your partner's archetype. Because when we understand what's going on with us and with our partner, we can strengthen and deepen our relationships. Welcome to Mind Money Balance. I'm your host, Lindsay Bryan-Podvin. I'm a woman of color, popcorn connoisseur, and one of the first financial therapists in the United States. This is the weekly podcast all about making money feel good in your relationship. The no guilt, no shame podcast, so you can stand in your power as a couple. Let's go. If you haven't heard of the 4 money archetypes, you are not alone. The 4 money archetypes that I use in my work as a financial therapist and as a financial coach are informed by the research of 2 financial behaviorists and financial researchers, Drs. Sonia Britt and Brad Klontz. And while I appreciate their insight to the world of research around our relationships with money, I found them to be a good jumping off point. But the problem that I find with them is that a lot of their research is around the problems or the problematic behaviors. And if you don't know by now in my work, I'm not about that shame and blame life. I believe that we all have unique strengths. And so I have used what I have learned with my work and with my clients and kind of delved deeper into the research that they have done to create these 4 money archetypes that also include some strengths along with the shadows or the challenge of falling into any one of these archetypes. So I want to be really clear. Anytime we are categorizing things or we are organizing things, especially when it comes to people and personalities, we aren't going to easily be able to fall into one specific box because we are humans and we are nuanced and we have depth and we don't neatly fall into one specific category. So anytime I'm doing something where I am typing or categorizing things, I always want to throw in the caveat of you are not a number on a piece of paper. You are not just a label. You are definitely deeper and more nuanced than that. So these 4 archetypes, you might see yourself in 75 or 80% of one and 20% of another, and that's okay and that's normal. And you may also find yourself saying, wow, well, I sort of see myself in that category, but not 100%. And that's okay too. So there's no one right way to do this. And I also don't want you to put yourself into a box and feel like you have to belong there. So I hope that helps to kind of add some clarity and nuance to these 4 money archetypes. So with that being said, let's dive into them. And these 4 money archetypes come from my book, The Financial Anxiety Solution. If you haven't gotten it yet, you can grab it anywhere books are sold online at the time of this recording, whether that's Barnes & Noble, Amazon, IndieBound, Target. I prefer that you reach out actually to your indie or local bookstore and ask them to order it for you. Most indie bookstores are able to do special orders, so that way you can support somebody in your community while also getting your hands on my workbook, The Financial Anxiety Solution. So let's dig into these 4 types. There are 4 types, but I would say they fall into 2 larger buckets. And one is I'm okay engaging with money, and one is I'm not so okay engaging with money. And you will see what I mean as we dig in. And just as a reminder, this is just a primer. In my work with my clients, we go much deeper and we dig in a little bit more so we can do a more thorough assessment. Obviously, on a podcast, I'm not offering assessment advice or telling you what you are here. These are just ideas so you can start thinking about your beliefs and your mindset about money in maybe a way that you hadn't thought before. So let's kick off with money archetype number 1, which is blissfully ignorant. And blissfully ignorant is actually me. And I'm not saying like, oh, I made this archetype up because of me, but a lot of my behaviors before I started doing my own money work definitely fell into this category. So you might be a blissfully ignorant archetype if you find yourself agreeing with things like this. The idea of money and talking about money gives you the creeps. You feel that it's rude or gauche to talk about money or finances. You've been told or you have internalized that money is private and we don't talk about it. And therefore, you might avoid engaging with your money. You might avoid looking at your bank statements, your credit card bills, your student loans, or any money-related paper trail because you're worried about what you might find out. You don't really know if you're investing in or contributing enough to your retirement. And to be honest, you're not really sure how you aren't in worse financial shape, but somehow things just sort of seem to work out. And the reason you fall into this category is because you deeply believe, even if it's subconsciously, you agree with things like, I don't deserve money when others have less than me. Wanting any amount of money more than just enough is selfish. If you are good, if you are pious, you should not care about money. So I'm curious if any of that resonates for you. And the shadow side here is that you might think because you want to avoid money, the problem with money avoidance is that there can be some detrimental consequences by avoiding your money. You might not invest in your retirement. You might not have been getting a retirement match at work. You might be avoiding talking to your partner about money or saying, you know what? I don't want to deal with it. You handle it. So you have no idea what's happening. So we have to be really careful because blissfully ignorant only works for so long. And I would say there are some positives once you start doing some of your money mindset work that you can dig into giving back towards your community with volunteering and financial donations. You can really have empathy for those who may have less. You may have an ability to engage in financial discussions in a more grounded way once you get in alignment. But when you're not in alignment, you're going to be kind of engaging in that shadow side, which is running away from it, avoiding it, burying your head in the sand. And as I mentioned, I was blissfully ignorant for a very long time. And when I am not engaging with my money regularly and engaging in money work regularly, I trend towards avoidance. I definitely used to find myself aligning with this part of it, which is you're not entirely sure how you don't run out of money each month, but you haven't, and you're sure it'll work out. I want to differentiate this from abundance and scarcity mindset, which is too deep to go into on this episode, but maybe I'll do an upcoming episode if you guys like that idea. But this is being ignorant. It is not being in abundance mindset. Abundance mindset is the idea that there is more than enough to go around, but being in the shadow side of blissfully ignorant means you just plug your ears, close your eyes, bury your head in the sand, and hope it'll work out. So one is really standing in openness and in abundance, and one is just fear-based. Let's move on to money archetype number 2, the money chaser. So this might be you if you can't stop chasing money. Your side hustle has a side hustle. It might have a side hustle. You feel gross when you have downtime and you're not earning. You're constantly refreshing Reddit feeds or investment feeds to make sure that you're on top of any new tax break or saving strategy you haven't fully leveraged. You're thinking about how much compound interest you're earning and what stocks you're going to buy that are going to be the next big winners. And you find yourself kind of on this hamster wheel because when you hit a financial goal, you don't really allow yourself to stay in it before you're setting up a new, bigger milestone. You find yourself agreeing with statements like, having money is going to solve my problems. More money means I will be happier. Money buys the luxury of freedom. Now, there is some nuance in some of these things, right? Statistics show us that more money will make you happier up until a tipping point. The number is somewhere around $74,000 per year in the United States, and that's for a single earner, I believe. I need to double check my stats, and if I need to update them, I will. But once we have enough money to pay our bills and have a cushion, research shows that more money will not make you happier. Now, I personally think that just because that number is there doesn't mean we shouldn't strive for more, because once we have more money in our hands, we can contribute more to our futures and our communities and to causes that are important to us. So I just wanted to throw out that nuance there. So the shadow side of being a money chaser is that you believe that to unlock the secret of happiness, it's money. There's no other thing that comes to your mind. You don't maybe subconsciously think like, oh, actually, health would really help me have a happy life, or being in healthy relationships, whether it's romantic or otherwise, or being in a job that I find fulfilling will bring me happiness. You find yourself tying your happiness just to your income or your net worth. You have a hard time being happy with your current net worth, and you're trying often to hit that next level. Again, because you think that money will fix X. More money will make you more relaxed, will make you happier, will make you more satisfied. So those are some of the shadow sides as you get really stuck in this black and white thinking that money is the only solution to your problems. The potential strengths here as a chaser is that you don't really get anxious looking at your money. So you have the ability to look at your money more as a tool, right? You can look at your investment returns or your compound interest in an objective way. These folks tend to have strong work ethics and capacity for entrepreneurship and are likely to really give back to family and friends. So those are some potential strengths in the chaser. Type number 3 is the Doomsday Prepper. Let me know if this sounds like you. Your savings and money goes beyond having a solid emergency fund and retirement account. You get anxious buying ice cream from the new creamery in your neighborhood because there's perfectly good $1.99 ice cream at home. You start to sweat and get on edge when a friend asks you to meet them at happy hour because you know you're going to have to spend money, and you also don't want to look like the cheap friend. Your pulse quickens when your partner says, hey, you should use that gift card that you've been carrying in your wallet for 3+ years. You are terrified, deeply, deeply scared of logging into any of your accounts and seeing red or seeing insufficient funds. The deep beliefs, the statements that you align yourself with, even if subconsciously, are things like you shouldn't tell others how much money you have or how much money you make. It's irresponsible to be an adult who does not have an emergency fund. Money is to be saved, not spent. So the shadow side of the prepper is that you really have this scarcity mindset with money. You think that money is finite and limited and will run out. And this might lead to you soaking up some beliefs that people have to work for their money rather than being, you can't see me, putting quotes around this, rather than people giving quote unquote financial handouts. You have a tendency to be anxious, and that can prevent you from enjoying all of the benefits and safety and security that having money can provide. The potential strengths here are that because you're good at saving for the future and planning ahead, you can really be in a good place, a healthy place financially. And what we want to do when we're doing money work with a person who is a doomsday prepper is help them see beyond money as just this thing that is causing anxiety, and help you expand your mindset that money can also expand your opportunities, your experiences, the things that you can afford literally and metaphorically because you are in a safe and secure financial position. Archetype number 4 is the spender. Let me know if this sounds like you. Your money is burning a hole in the proverbial pocket. You get a rush out of buying an armful of new hiking gear from REI, or loading up your Sephora or the ordinary shopping cart. You find a way to furnish your living room with restoration hardware, even when it means that couch goes on a high-interest credit card. When money comes in, it flows right on out. You tend to agree with things like, and again, these are subconscious, you might not be saying them actually aloud, even when I don't mean to. I trend toward buying name brand items. If something isn't the best, it's not worth buying. I get a rush when I swipe my credit card or hit purchase at my online shopping cart. The shadow side of the spender is that there's so much caught up in money and status that you tend to link your self-worth with the possessions that you have. And because of this, you can be at risk of overspending. You can also be at risk for hiding purchases from your spouse, right? You might be like, oh, this old thing, I've had it in my closet for ages. Or, oh, this new golf club, no, it's just been in the garage forever. Because there is perhaps, and I don't have the data for this, but perhaps a bigger dopamine rush from purchasing things. So those are some of the unhelpful parts of being a spender, but potentially some of the strengths are that you might be able to work toward having the capacity to have this abundance mindset, right? Because you're so good at saying, I can afford that, I can add that, I can buy that, that maybe we can kind of strengthen the resolve in your beliefs, whatever they may be, and work toward handling your status symbols or your success with grace and humility. And maybe we can work on accepting abundance into your life in ways outside of material things. So why are these 4 money archetypes so important to understand about you and about your partner? Because just like with the 5 love languages, once we know where our partner is coming from, what they trend toward, what they do when they're hanging out in that shadow side, when they're not being their fullest self, we can recognize it and go, oh, that's the spender side of my partner really acting up right now. Or, oh, that's my doomsday prepper personality really amping up right now. And it starts to give us the language to interact with our money and our beliefs about money by taking a little bit of the blame and shame off of us. So when I was a traditional anxiety therapist for many years, one of the things that I found so helpful was a piece that us therapists call psychoeducation. And all that means is providing education on a person's diagnosis, symptoms, and treatment. And I'm telling you, 99% of the time when I would share with anxiety clients that the symptoms they were experiencing were because of anxiety, they would go, oh, thank God, I'm not crazy. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm not alone in having these thoughts or these feelings or these behaviors, right? Because when we can say, I'm not alone, there is that validation in knowing that you aren't problematic. You aren't broken. There isn't something wrong with you. So when it comes to our money archetypes, I want for you to hear really loudly and clearly that you aren't bad at money. Okay? You just may have your money archetype flaring up and the shadow side of it really being loud when you aren't acting in your wisest, truest, most balanced financial self. So, those are the 4 money archetypes. Really quickly, again, just to run them down, we've got blissfully ignorant, who likes to avoid the money because it makes them uncomfortable. We've got the money chaser, who is constantly chasing that next raise or that next big income boost. We have the Doomsday Prepper, who is holding on so tightly to their money because they think that holding on tightly will bring them security. And we have the spender, who believes that that rush that they get by purchasing material goods will bring them joy and happiness. I'm really curious for you what you thought as you listened to these money archetypes. Did you find yourself going, oh my gosh, that's totally me, or that's my partner? Did these surprise you? Did it sound spot on? Let me know. Screenshot this episode if you're listening on your phone and share out on Instagram and tag me at Mind Money Balance. I'm always on Instagram, probably too much, and I love seeing what's resonating with you. And on the date that this episode airs, I also have a post on my Instagram walking you through the money archetype. So you can also save that post and refer back to it in addition to saving this episode and referring back to it. And one really cool thing about these archetypes is that in my flagship group coaching course for high earning couples, we spend an entire month digging into our money stories, which includes digging into the shadow side of these archetypes and the balanced and wise self when our archetype is in alignment with us and we're acting out of our most grounded selves. And this is super, super helpful. We go back in time, we figure out where these things got picked up. We help to really dig into the nuance of each of these archetypes because, as you know, in 15 or 20 minutes, I can only go so deep into these. If you really enjoyed this and can envision what it might look like to engage with your spouse around money through the lens of financial therapy, which is stuff like this, the financial archetypes, the psychology of money, then Boundless might be a great fit for you. And the way to get into Boundless is you have to go to my website, www.mindmoneybalance.com/boundless. You'll find everything you need to know there about the program, but you need to apply. And the reason I have couples apply is it's a two-way street. One, I want to make sure that you're going to be a good fit and you and your partner are going to bring energy and show up and do the work in the program. But also, I want to make sure that I'm a good fit for you. The reason I have these applications is I might see on your application, wow, they totally need something that I can't provide for them. And I don't want to have people in the program where it was a mismatch, where it was unaligned, and either party ends up frustrated. There's nothing worse than getting into a program thinking you're getting help only to find out that it's actually not what you needed. So if you want to dig in deeper to things like money archetypes and you want to do it with one of the only financial therapists in the United States, make sure to go to mindmoneybalance.com/boundless and apply today. Enrollment for this current cohort ends on April 30th, 2020 at midnight EST, and I hope to see some of those applications come in. I love seeing these applications and seeing the work that clients have done and what they're hoping to get out of Boundless. And I hope that it's a great fit for you. If you love this episode, take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram at MindMoneyBalance with your favorite takeaway. I love seeing what resonates with my listeners and sharing it in my stories. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week, right here. Neither the host or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, medical, or other professional information. If you want professional help, please seek it out.